Before we get into today's video, just a quick reminder that the best way to support the channel is to subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, and leave a comment letting me know your thoughts on the upcoming topic. You can also catch me over on Twitch, streaming every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesdays at 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., and Saturdays for my weekly 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. mega stream. Now, on to today's video. Hello there, and welcome back to the Codex. So today I want to talk about something that lies at the core of our Warframe's ability to deal damage, to stay alive, and to provide utility to either ourselves or our team, and that is the ability to keep our energy sustain going. Because if you don't have energy, you can't cast any abilities, and if you can't cast any abilities, most of the time that means you're going to have issues not dying, dealing damage, and giving yourself the buffs that you should have. So, one of my favorite mods to deal with this is Equilibrium. This says health pickups give 110% energy, and energy pickups give 110% health. Now, just to clear up some confusion that I know some people have about this mod, this does not mean that it makes health orbs only give you energy, or that it makes energy orbs only give you health. What it means is, when it says, for example, health pickups give 110% energy, if you pick up a health orb that gives you 50 health, it will still give you 50 health, but it will also give you 55 energy. Now, even on its own, that makes this mod really nice because, for example, when you kill Xmas enemies, they drop guaranteed health orbs. So at the very least, every Xmas that you kill will give you a little burst of energy along with that health. But there is a way that you can make this way more consistent and give almost any Warframe build, even if you're using Blind Rage, giving yourself negative efficiency, basically infinite sustain on any build. And that is by using your companion with a mod called Synth Deconstruct. This comes from Bounties and Fortuna. What this says is that enemies injured by your companion have a 25% chance to drop a health orb when killed. This counts from any companion damage, as long as the damage comes from your companion. Even if it's not a weapon, it could be an ability, it counts as companion damage. So basically, a quarter of the enemies that your companion tags with any amount of damage, even if they do literally 1 damage, they will have a chance to drop a health orb, which means that now all enemies, not just Xmas, have the ability to drop those orbs, which are converted into additional energy sustain for you. This is really good on something like the Panzer Bubble Filer, for example, because viral quills, which is basically a viral version of Saren's spores, when it shoots out these quills and they spread all over the map and all of the enemies around you have those quills on them, which is really nice because, for one, it's a viral damage multiplier, but also that counts as companion damage coming from your Panzer. So every single one of those enemies that's tagged by these spores now has a 25% chance to drop a health orb thanks to Synth Deconstruct. So you're going to have tons of enemies dropping those health orbs that you need to buff up your Equilibrium. Let's go ahead and hop into a mission and showcase that. So I'm playing as Nova here, and obviously I want to have enough energy to sustain at least casting my 4th. You also want to keep your first ability up so you can keep yourself alive, which you could also just use the augment to do that. And the main thing that you might spam energy for is if you want to use your second ability to deal damage. For example, I want to throw this out, I want to shoot it, and then when I nuke these guys, that can cost a lot of energy if you want to do that often. And you'll see here that it becomes a non-issue thanks to the Equilibrium effect. You can see I've already picked up hundreds of energy. You can see at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a conversion symbol for Equilibrium going off whenever I pick that up. You can see here are some guys here tagged by my Panzer. See, it says 100 health, and then it says that has a converted symbol, 110 energy. So I'm getting basically infinite energy from doing this. I could just sit right here, keep rushing these guys to me. My Panzer will mark them, making them take more damage because it's also putting viral procs on them. And then I can throw out my second ability and just keep nuking these guys. And the cycle just keeps rinsing and repeating infinite energy over and over and over again.
Life support incoming.
Let some more guys come in here. My Panzer will mark them. Just keep on killing. And you also will still get regular energy orb drops, of course, so it's not just your companion giving energy. You're still going to get the regular methods as well. So this is Equilibrium being very good on top of all of your normal sustain. And especially if you pair something like Nourish on top of this, Nourish, the energy multiplier from that, will multiply the energy that you get from Equilibrium. So for example, if you have a 2x energy multiplier, you would get, for example, 100 energy from an orb instead of 50. Or it would actually be 110 instead of 55 would be the real numbers. Let's start one of my bombs here. Blow up this whole room. And then boom, just picked up 175 energy. Yeah, this is unless you're truly spamming the ever-living hell out of an ability, this is effectively going to give you infinite energy, as long as your companion has a chance to mark them, which, like I said, with the viral quills is super easy. But the Panzer isn't the only companion that's able to do this. We'll talk about the companions more in just a moment here. First, there's two more things I want to talk about. So obviously the Equilibrium mod itself is very nice if you want to fit that into your builds, but there's one more way that you can get that Equilibrium style effect, and that is with Violet Archon shards. On my Gara build here, you can see I have 2 Tau Forged Violet shards, and the buff that I've selected is health pickups give 30% energy, and energy pickups give 30% health. So since I'm running 2 of these, I'm getting this effect at 60%. So 60% of the health orb value is now also given to me as energy. So that's a little bit more than half of what the actual Equilibrium mod would give me. And if you want to, you could, of course, run more or less of these, depending on how much of a conversion you feel like your build needs. So on my Gara build, I'm not running the actual Equilibrium mod. I am, however, running Prime Flow. Now, one nice thing about, like I said, that Equilibrium effect is that since this Gara build is running Nourish, when that does go off and I pick up those health orbs and it gives me a energy conversion, it will also be multiplied by Nourish, giving me a very massive amount of energy sustain. And there's one more effect that you can also use for, again, the passive regen as long as the frame or your companion supports it, and that's Archon Stretch. Archon Stretch gives you the same range as regular Stretch. It gives you plus 45% ability range, but it also says, abilities that deal electricity damage restore 2 energy a second over 5 seconds. Now, this doesn't only apply to your Warframe. On my Gara, for example, since she does have a melee ability, her Shattered Lash, you can mod that for electric, and then it would trigger this. But even if you don't have electric on your Shattered Lash, for example, on this build, you can actually still trigger this by using your companion. Now, a really popular companion to do this with is the Dariga, because Dariga has the Arc Coil mod, which innately does electricity procs in an AoE. So this is very passive, it hits everybody around you, and since it is a ability that causes electric damage via an electric proc, it will trigger that. But what if I don't want to use the Dariga? There's nothing wrong with Dariga, but what if I want to use, for example, what is arguably the most popular Sentinel of the game, one of the most popular companions in general, and that is the Nautilus. The Nautilus is extremely popular because it has the grouping ability Cordon. The problem, though, is that Nautilus doesn't have any damaging precepts, so it doesn't have any ability mods you can put on that you can make do electric damage even with Manifold Bond, like the Arc Coil, for example, except there is actually a mod you can put on, and you can put it on any Sentinel in the game to make them do electric damage, and that is Coolant Leak. You put this on, and it says, unleashes a 10-meter radial blast of cold when multiple enemies are nearby and applies 3 stacks with a 10-second cooldown. This cooldown, for one, is reduced by Manifold Bond, and Manifold Bond you need it anyway because this mod says, companion preset mods apply stats effects from companion weapons. This means that if you're using a weapon, like this Tazakor here, and it either does electric innately or you mod it for electric, since this build has electric, magnetic radiation, and viral on it, via Manifold Bond, this will actually apply to the Coolant Leak burst effect. So it's going to be cold, that the mod says innately, plus electric, magnetic, radiation, and viral. So since it now has electric, it will trigger the Archon Stretch on any frame that you put it on, giving you this extra 2 energy a second regen. And again, this 2 energy a second regen is also multiplied by Nourish's energy multiplier if you're running a build that uses Nourish. So especially if you use both of these effects, like my Gara build is, both Stretch and the Equilibrium Shard effect, or the actual Equilibrium mod, this is going to result in a huge amount of sustain. Let's go ahead and hop in the mission and showcase that this Sentinel mod does in fact work. So here we are. Gonna drop a pad just to get me started here so I can pop Nourish, pop my second ability, then I'll hop out of the pad radius, so no more energy from that. And then you'll see, once the Coolant Leak goes off, it's gonna start generating energy thanks to that Archon Stretch activating. You can see, there we go, we also got a kill there. So that actually gave me a health orb drop. But you can see, if you look at the top right, you're gonna see that mod go off. Wait just a second here, it's gonna go off again. It's got a bit of a cooldown because I'm not killing anybody. Usually Manifold Bond, by killing enemies that have multiple stats effects, you would get to go off constantly. But there we go. There's that Archon Stretch effect. And again, that is massively multiplied by Nourish, depending on how much strength you have. So this is, I can literally just stand here not killing anybody, and I'm generating energy. Now, obviously, if I start killing guys, I'm going to get way more. And when you actually play the game for real, instead of just letting the enemies wail on you, you'll see that on a build like this, even if you are running Blind Rage for negative efficiency, you have way more energy than you need. And again, I'm only running 2 of those Equilibrium Shards. So my energy sustain effects right now are those 2 Equilibrium Shards, plus Archon Stretch, and then those are both being multiplied by Nourish. And of course, if you're running an Arcane like Energize or Steadfast, for example, you can stack that on top and have even more reliable sustain. So keep this in mind. This is a way to make basically any frame in the game be able to spam all the abilities you want, so you can stay alive, you can keep doing damage, you can keep buffing yourself and your teammates. It's very passive effect. I use it on a load of builds. Let me know down in the comments below, guys. Do you use this? Do you like this? I think it's a really good replacement for Energize, for example, especially because Energize can be very expensive and it takes up an Arcane slot. I much prefer using, effectively, a companion slot to be able to get this kind of energy economy utility. Hopefully it was helpful. I'll see you guys in the next one.